Hey lads, why do you prefer some lumbar extension in the squat compared to lots of powerlifters that like the neutral hips and ribs down? So this is a really important thing that I have seen misquoted so many times. Some lumbar extension, if you look at any skeleton in your local doctor's office, you're going to see a natural lumbar curve and it's in extension. Your lumbar spine is made to sit like this. We're not telling people or cueing people or coaching people to really overextend their lower back and go into something called anterior pelvic tilt. That's not what you want. You want the normal lumbar extension in a normal lumbar spine. The problem comes where we're really coaching a high bar squat used for developing athletic populations and for use in things like weightlifting and more explosive movements. Granted, in the more low bar style squatting, in that more hip dominant style squat, you can get away with slightly more, like it's not neutral. Like neutral in the lumbar spine is extended. That's where natural lumbar spine will sit. So can you get away with some amount of minor flexion in it? I'm sure you certainly can. But in the case where we want a high bar squat with an upright torso, transferring better into sports, transferring better into power production, all of these things, we want the spine to be in its natural extended position in the lumbar. And that's what we're looking at. It's not coaching you to stick your ass out like a duck or anything along those lines. It's looking for the natural position that our spine should be sitting in and then working hard to hold that level of extension throughout the squat.
So as well, in the low bar squats, there's a lot of people who have just disgusting low bar squats, and they will be in the most amount of ribs down as possible. So in the low bar, you can get away with that. And the lower that barbell goes, the more you can incline forward, the more you can keep that barbell over the base of your kind of mid-foot position. And as a result, you can squat through that. And especially when you're just going to below parallel, you're not being challenged to the most nth degree, so the barbell isn't moving as far forward it would be as you're getting lower. Most people who watch our stuff and most of the athletes we coach are doing some variation of the high bar squat. They're trying to squat as low as possible. It might be between that high and the mid bar position. So in those cases, like Dara talked about, the lower back, neutral is actually extension. And when I go for a big brace or ribs down, I'm putting my upper back into more flexion, and this immediately moves the barbell forward. And if I'm squatting to full depth, what this does is pushes the barbell further in front of that midfoot position, or this kind of most centered position where I'm keeping that barbell back. Whereas if I extend the chest and I do the chest up cue, which for some reason people have fallen out of favor with, the only people I see saying this are people teaching powerlifters or people who are really weak. And I see this a couple of times with like people teaching classes to CrossFit coaches, and they're max squat is 160 kilos or something, and they're saying, yeah, the chest up was a bad cue. Give me anybody who squatted big weights in weightlifting and I'll show you a chest up. Give me a single person who isn't absolutely massive. Give me someone who isn't 180 kilos in a ball of gear. Just give me a 60 kilo weightlifter to 110 kilo weightlifter, 120 kilo weightlifter doing a high bar squat, and I'll show you a chest up. You just cannot do that. If I tried to squat 300 kilos with my chest down, my ribs up, I guarantee you I would not have squatted 300 kilos.
Maybe you would have done 320.
Maybe. Like, it really bothers me because, okay, so in the powerlifting movements, most times we still want that natural extension. We want a bit more. We don't coach a super low bar position. I don't think it's the most efficient squat long term, and it's certainly horrible to look at. We coach a kind of a more normalized low bar position, very quad dominant low bar position, and it works very, very well. And even in those cases, we still want that chest up position. But when it comes to the high bar squat, you're just not doing it. Like, if you're a super heavyweight, you're not going to be able to see as much apparent, and you can get apparent extension, and you've much more mass everywhere, and you've much more of a contact between your belly and your quads when you sit down into the squat. And as a result, you don't need to be as large like this because there's more of you to support. You've more proprioception stability. But if you're doing anything that's not a low bar squat, you do need a chest up, and you do need to keep that barbell over center of foot. Also, what seems to have fallen out of favor is people seem to think extension is dangerous. I keep seeing this in comments. People are like, it's dangerous. I also see this in regards to, yeah, if you're built for squats, do you not have a torso?
Yeah.
Do you not have legs in a torso?
Is your torso, have you so few vertebrae that you don't have to worry about their orientation?
Are your torso, is your vertebrae fused together?
Lads, you're just after tapping into a particular pain point for one and I here, so sorry if it's...
Yeah, it's very annoying. And I guess not asking the question, I fully understand. It's definitely annoying for you as well if you're watching different people who you like watching and they're saying different things. But when we say things, almost always saying it for the average person, and what they're doing when they're watching our stuff. And in most cases, this is some variation of the high bar squat to as deep as they can manage with a consistent back angle. And the chest up, the ribs down cue, I've never used that with anyone. Neutral hips, maybe, but again, neutral hips implies lower back extension. And then we want that chest up, because as you squat down, the barbell wants to move forward in a non-low bar squat. It wants to move forward in a low bar squat as well, but you don't have to worry about that as much as possible in a low bar squat. And if you're really low bar and you extend your chest as much as possible, you're not going to hold the barbell in that really low bar position. So as a result, the chest up won't make sense there. But for every other kind of squat, I only see this from people who do not convince me of their strength, or people who are very strong, who are doing low bar style squats in competition to below parallel, where that won't become apparent. But for everybody else, certainly everybody who watches our stuff, and the vast majority of people watching us, the tiny percentage are powerlifters, it's just the ribs down and locked in cue. Now, the other thing to really narrow this home is people often say, oh, but if I do the extension, I get butt wink. And that's a skill issue. It's like saying, if I don't bend my arms, I'll miss my snatches. Or if I don't lift my hips off the bench, I can't make my max bench. But that's a temporary issue. Most of the time, this is caused by mobility and an ability to control the lower back in a good position when you're squatting down. And sometimes, again, this does happen a little bit, is people get really neurotic. Like we'll see there in the coaches chat on the app or whatever, people are like, do you think there's too much butt wink? And you'll see a bottom position that looks absolutely perfect. So sometimes people can worry about that too much, and they'll say, I'm losing that position. And even if you move out of some of that extension, you move into more flexion, your still goal is to maintain that position as much as possible.